World Show. Heal the World Show is brought to you by the Healing Institute. We are a virtual global hub of holistic practitioners, and we are out to heal the world. I'm Parmelia Parham. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Healing Institute, and I'm very excited every Friday at this time to be able to introduce one of our amazing practitioners. So I have been studying and been part of the holistic way of being well for well over 20 years. And that's one of the reasons that I really want to bring hope to people that while you're on your health journey, because we're all on a health journey, you can be well and you can stay well. And so you might ask me, well, maybe why? Why is this so important to me? Well, we did have a tragedy in our family. My mother died at a very young age. She was 61. I was 5 months pregnant with my son, and it was right at Christmas, so December 15th. So not only was that a tragedy that she died of complications from a medication that she'd been on for a very long time, and she died so young, but the other tragedy that she never got to meet my children, and my children did not get to meet their grandmother. And I don't want that to happen to anybody else. So that's one of my main whys as to why I created the Healing Institute and why we want to have holistic practitioners and ways of being well with their modalities, which are absolutely amazing, so that we can heal the world. And today I am really delighted to be interviewing Gina Frodnifer, and I am just so excited. She's coming from all the way from South Africa. So it's evening for her, even though it could be morning for me, daytime for other people. So Gina, welcome. So wonderful to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the modalities that you work with.
Thank you for having me here, and good evening, afternoon, and morning to everybody. The modality that I'm specifically talking about today when we're talking about preventing dis-ease in the body is bioenergetic feedback. Now, a lot of people will be going, what is that? So if you can imagine, every computer has a virus scan, which picks up any viruses, detects them, and then our IT people sort it out. Well, this is kind of something like that for your body. We work on the body's energetic field. We pick up any imbalances and vulnerabilities and stresses. And I have a unique device that doesn't need you to be with me in person, that I can work on your energetic body from anywhere in the world to wherever you may be in the world, as long as we have each other's permission and we're working together. And we can restore those negative energies, imbalances, and vulnerabilities before they manifest into any kind of illness or disease, as I like to call it, rather than disease. So that's really, in a nutshell, the modality we're going to be talking about today.
Oh, and I just find that so amazing. You know, we haven't really been taught over the years that energy moves and that we can do energetic work a probe. And so that makes me so excited about the work that you do, because it is so important. And I love the fact that you talk about the dis-ease, because we've heard about disease. Sometimes we kind of know what that means, or if we are on the receiving end of a disease of some kind, then we know what that could be. But we haven't really explored the whole concept of our bodies not getting to that state. And the work that you're doing with bioenergetic therapy really helps people. It's a proactive approach. So it's getting the body, healing the body, or making sure that the body doesn't get to, while it might be on its journey to be in disease, it doesn't actually get to the disease. Yes, so it halts the disease before it actually gets embedded into our cells and creates the bigger problem. So let's talk a little bit about some of your clients that you've worked with. Particularly, I know there was one lady you mentioned that she was really depressed and had a lot of anxiety. Just give us a brief brief overall of what she came to you to work on, and then the results that she had from working with you.
Sure. So she actually was diagnosed with depression by a GP or a doctor or practitioner. I'm not sure what you call them everywhere else in the world, but here in South Africa, they're known as a general practitioner. And she obviously really battled with the anxiety. And it was very, I think for people that have never had depression or experienced a loved one having depression, it's very difficult to understand. It literally is difficult for that individual to get up and function on a normally daily basis. For example, getting up and brushing their hair, brushing their teeth, making sure they actually have breakfast in the morning. All of those things are challenges for them. So she really battled just functioning in a day-to-day normal way that we take for granted sometimes. So when she came to me, those were all things that were a big concern for her. So it was difficult for her to go out. It was difficult for her to just function. And coupled with that, she often had a lot of anxiety, how do you say, like experiences or attacks, like panic attacks. So yes, we've got some power here in South Africa. Sorry, I get very excited. So you can see me properly now. So what I really did with her sessions is I worked on the anxiety, and we worked on the different sections for depression. And she found over time that her day-to-day functions were much easier. She was able to function like she used to without the depression. She was able to go out more and not have the panic attacks or the anxiety. So she started actually getting her life back. And that's pretty much how she explained it. And again, I'll just say, for us people that have not been with someone or experienced depression on that level, it's very difficult to understand. But if you can just try to put in your mind that getting out of bed in the morning was a challenge, facing the day was a challenge.
And so the bioenergetic feedback and work therapy that you worked with her, can you give us a little idea about how exactly you worked with her with that?
Sure. So it really, just to give everybody a little bit of an idea, I work on Zoom with my clients, so that I can see them and we can interact and they can see what resonates and maybe ask questions if need be. At the same time, I'm explaining to them everything that's coming up on the computer. So it works off a laptop with the computer. It's like a box. I call it the magic box, and that's what holds the different vibrations in order to send that energy vibration all across the seas, the earth, wherever it is, to the person, because energy knows no boundaries and it can go anywhere. I think for a lot of people that's difficult to understand. So if I can just say there, if you have a mobile phone and you have roaming and I have your number, I can reach you wherever you are in the world. This is pretty much the same. Your name, your date, time of birth is your mobile number, and if I have your permission, I can reach you wherever you are in the world, and energy can work through that. So for this young lady, I did a monthly two week. So the first few months I did 2 sessions a month, so every second week. And literally the first session was an hour and a half, because obviously there's a bit of intake questions and things that need to happen. Thereafter it was an hour session each, and that's where, just to give everybody a bit of a picture, in the beginning of the session, you run what's called a reactivity test. So if you imagine like a computer virus scan, it will pick up all the things that are most out of balance or most in need of balancing. And so then we work on those in the beginning of the session. And that's how it works with each session, regardless of what we are working on for the person.
So you had chosen this particular modality, because I know you do other modalities. You had chosen this particular modality because you felt that it's best for this particular client, and the issues that she was having.
100% for her, that this was the best thing that I thought could help her. And also from a why perspective, this is something that I can work on with anybody, anywhere in the world, at any time, as long as we can connect. And I found that was my why. I can help people that I haven't even met yet. How awesome is that?
Fabulous. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so that's an amazing testimonial, because I can't imagine not being able, feeling so debilitated that I didn't even want to get out of bed in the morning. I didn't want to face the day. And especially if you're in a relationship or you have a family, you have to, you have to be mobile. You have to be able to you have to be able to have a life. So by using this modality with her, how long was it then overall that you worked with her? You said you started twice a month and then
So I worked with
worked.
her for about, I think it was 3 months in total.
Mhm.
But the whole point of this is you don't have to stop there when you're feeling better. This is really like a maintenance thing that you can do
Yes.
too. So at any stage, if she feels a little bit uneasy or anxious, she can be in touch and we can do a session. That's not a problem. But yes, each person is unique, and it will depend on what we're working on for them, or should I say what I'm working on for them, and also what's going on in their life. Today they've had a great day and it was less stressful.
Right.
And then they have two very stressful days, and all of a sudden there's an anxiety attack again. So, not everyone's treatment protocol or frequency of going into a session like this is going to be the same. But for her, it worked out. We did 3 months in total, and she's great. She's functioning. In fact, she's actually getting married at the end of this. I think
Wow.
it's end of next year. End of next year. So
Well, that's just amazing. I love to hear that the end result of what's going to happen when someone works with you. So another client that you had mentioned as well, and this is something I think quite a few people can identify with. They had some seasonal allergies, and I know you have seasons in South Africa just like we do in North America, and there's usually the springtime is when the pollens and things are floating around in the air, and so a lot of people are suffering from seasonal allergies. Can you give us an idea about this client and how you worked with them and what the results were?
absolutely, I can do that. So just so you know, the previous client and this client and the next one you're going to talk about are all from the USA. And
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so I have physically met one, and the other two not in person but only online. But yes, so my client we're talking about that suffers from the seasonal allergies. So it's the usual rhinitis, which is the runny nose, itchy eyes, a bit of the dry throat, all of those kind of things. I'd say a lot of like sinus related symptoms.
Mhm,
She
mhm.
really really battles, and was finding that it became like debilitating, and she had to take medication all of the time. So she does a once a month session with me. She's a regular client and an ongoing client, and she actually refers to this as her tune up, her maintenance, like
Mhm.
you had to service your car. It's her service. And obviously in the months where the allergy season is prevalent, she does get loads of benefits, and the rest of the time it's just to make sure that those things are not affecting her body, and that there's nothing else going on that's out of balance that's going to cause dis-ease and disharmony in her body.
Yes, because we know from being holistic practitioners that there could be other things going on with the client, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, as well as physically. And so if those things are out of sync, then it can affect our physicality and something like seasonal allergies even worse. So
100%. A lot of the times in the session, like even with this particular lady, I would say to, but like there's these couple of emotional things that are coming up. What's been going on? And I would say, like, because it will actually tell you in the reactivity test. Sometimes it's as human beings, we understand labels, so it will be as specific as grief. And
right.
at that time, she had that kind of thing going on in her life, and then we work at balancing those emotions at the same time. So it's such a great tool, and it offers so many things. And I did see earlier there was a question from Leslie. How did I get into this? And was it something personal for me? Yes, actually, it was a very personal thing. I've always been interested in alternative healing and practices and that kind of thing, right from a young child. And my dad got melanoma cancer. And my dad didn't even believe in homeopaths. So you must understand the challenges that I had to get him to go onto my machine and accept the bioenergetic feedback treatments. And obviously, he was already in the stage that we couldn't cure him, but it could make his life so much more comfortable and easier. So often I'd work on all of the symptoms he was experiencing, things like the nausea, some of the discomforts, often even worse could be like the vomiting and all of that kind of thing. And hear from someone who didn't believe in anything other than, scientific things, he was like, he would phone and he'd say, please, can you put me on the machine? I need a session. It's really helping me. And that for me was my turning point in how I knew this was going to be my opportunity to help people, because there was somebody who didn't believe in anything natural, homeopathy, or anything like that. And there my dad was pretty much begging me to put him on regularly. And that was how I got into this. And I had already studied natural health and clinical massage therapy. So this was just another way of me being able to put all of those studies into practice in a way I never actually imagined.
Oh, that's a beautiful story, Gina. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm glad you picked up on that note that came through. And yes, so we do have people that are on today, and oftentimes we don't have time to see their questions. So certainly be going back through the chat afterwards and answering everybody's question. So another question that's coming up about you referred to a box. So is it like this is a question, is it like a heart math device? Is there something that people can check it out online, what it looks like?
I can actually quickly grab it and show everybody if they want to see. It's right here. So I call it the magic box. I've got some clients that call it the magic box, but it's really just the device that plugs into the laptop. It looks like this.
Okay.
That's pretty much it, with a cable with a USB port that goes into the laptop.
And so that and the bioenergy that's coming from that device is also translating across the airwaves and the energy waves and the vibrational waves in the world to assist.
100%. That's exactly it. So if you look up bioenergetic feedback, you'll see there's a number of devices worldwide. There's one called the SCIO, SCIO. There's the Life Machine, which is the one I have got, which is Living Information Systems. So there's various different devices, but offering the same feedback therapy. It's all energetic. It's all bioenergetic feedback. It all works the same way. Just obviously, there's been sometimes improvements. The device that I have gives me a little bit more freedom, because I don't like being told what to do and how to do it and when to do it. This gives me a bit more freedom to direct the treatment. Sometimes it's necessary. A person might say, today I've got the most incredible headache, and I know we're working on what needs to come up and that you're going to balance that, but please, can you also specifically go and help me with my headache? And there is a particular program that I can then direct the treatment to and go and work on that. When I say work on that, we actually push a button on the screen on the computer, and it sends the frequency to the individual, and it has to give a rectification percentage of 85% or more. So that's how I know when we can actually move on to the next line item or the next item with that comes up in what we call the reactivity test, which is like the computer virus scan, which picks up the imbalances that I was talking about in the beginning.
Right. So a further question then is, do you get to interpret, is it your interpretation of the output that indicates how to begin and direct the treatment. To me too, is that you were basing it also on what the client needed. So for example, that client that had headaches, you obviously set up your session to treat the client some certain what you had discussed earlier that you were going to talk about or treat the client with. But then when they said headaches, you were able to direct the machine to include that. And
yes, so from the outset, you actually run, like I said, the computer virus scan, which is known as the reactivity test, which then will highlight the program that you need to work for the day. Okay, so it might come up as neuro-emotional program, it might come up as the cell or the RIFE program even on the day. And that's basically what will be due to the results of what's come up in the reactivity test, it will make that suggestion for you for the day. Generally, a treatment you will go according to what comes up in the reactivity test. You work at the top of the list and at the bottom of the list. We rectify those items, and then we go to the suggested program for the day. So what I actually do is I actually spend a little bit extra time. I run through what we need to do, and at the end, if somebody said, this is really bothering me today, I do a little bit of extra time with my clients, and I would then treat or direct the treatment in that direction for them, like for example the headache afterwards. But so yes, you can direct the treatment from the beginning if you really want to, but I like to use the device because that's what it's there for. And also through that, understand by talking to my clients in the session and getting their feedback and seeing what's resonating with them, that also helps to understand where we need to go and how much time we need to spend on something.
Yes, and most definitely. And we just had a comment from someone who's listening in about that. She's calling it the magic box. So I'm sure your clients call it that as well.
They do.
Yes. So do you work with adults and children? And the question is, who would be easier to work with, adults or children, if you do work with children?
So let me blow all of your minds. I work with children, adults, and animals. You can actually work on animals with this too. I have had a few of those, but that is a little bit more intricate because I do need a little bit of their hair to put onto the electronic pad on top of the box. But you know, I have had great results and found it great working with both adults and children. Obviously, you know, now with me doing more of the online sessions because my clients aren't necessarily in the same country, those are adults. The first client that we actually mentioned about the depression was a teenager when I started working with her. So, but you know, at the end of the day, I suppose if the child is still fairly young and not able to interact, their parent would need to be with me on the Zoom call for their session. Just like if they do an in-person session with me at my clinic, the parent needs to be there.
Of course.
It would work the same.
Yeah, I have as well worked with the modalities that I do work with. I work with adults and children and animals, and then with children and animals, you just need the parent's permission or the owner's permission. Of course, when I'm working with my adults, I've got their permission. So a question came up about do you work with horses? Have you worked with other animals besides, what animals have you worked with? Perhaps we should ask that question.
So I haven't been blessed yet to work with any horses, but I have worked with people who have had cats and dogs. So I've worked on that. And I think I've actually had one bird as a client. But I do know that there are people that have specialized working with horses. And so even for me, if someone did ask me, I would suggest they find someone like that because it is a little bit different. And I think with horses, you can actually get a mat that they can lie on, which actually helps pick up the imbalances that a lot easier. And they seem to be more receptive with that. My knowledge isn't obviously up to date on that, but that was the last. I did have a colleague who worked extensively with horses, and she had the skio device, which is the same as mine. So it was pretty awesome.
I just find this amazing that we are able to increase the health of so many people, including animals, and it's to do with energy, and it's to do with vibration, and that is just so amazing to be able to do that. And with, I mean, before I was online and created the Healing Institute and so many other fabulous practitioners that we all did it in person, right? So it's also a, a very, I believe, a magnificent thing that we can do this and reach out to the world, to all areas of the world with the modalities that we want. We're getting close to the end of our 30 minutes, which has gone very, very fast. I just wanted to mention one more client we're talking about. Suffered and diagnosed with illnesses, and then found herself calmer and then better able to experience the diagnosis, the illness that she'd been diagnosed with.
Yes,
That
so
she was able to deal with that better. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so that client of mine is an ongoing client. We
Mm-hmm.
do, at this stage, we're doing every second week. I think she's been with me now for 2 or 3 months. Sometimes, when she's really battling, we do a bit more frequently. But otherwise, depending on her schedule, it hasn't been every second week all of the time. But yes, so her session pretty much runs the same way. We'll run the reactivity test, see what comes up as out of balance. Work at balancing those for her before we move on to the actual program that is recommended for the day. And through that, actually, and this is where the rest of intuition, coaching,
Mm-hmm.
intention, energy all comes up, because I also firmly believe that you will find the right therapist to work with when there needs to be an energy alignment. And this lady has, for whatever reason, taken so much how do you say it? Well, she's taken so much of what I've shared with her, of some of the experiences and challenges I've had in my life, and that some of my other clients have had, that she's found it so helpful, that it's almost like that was more helpful than her session. But it's all a culmination of
It's
it all
together.
And,
yeah, it all works.
that's
All works together.
that's where the coaching comes in. And yeah, so she does hers to maintain her health, and I always say I'm walking with you on your wellness journey.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. So Gina has an offer. I'm just going to run that. It's a complimentary consultation session. And I'm just we'll put it also in the chat, how you can connect with her, how you can set up a complimentary session with her, or you'll find this Institute at the Healing Institute in Gina's profile. And then any of the modalities that Gina offers, you can also book with her. So this is one way of doing that, is connecting with Gina. We'll also put this in all of the chat notes so that people, if you, with this little ticker tape, it goes a bit fast. So just being able to put that in the chat notes, you can go back and have a look and connect with Gina. So thank you so much, Gina, for coming to us all the way from South Africa. I know it's a little later in the day for you. And, I'm just so delighted with the practitioners that we have at the Healing Institute, and the fact that we're looking for the root cause of what's going on with a client. So that's the time that what you've explained today is the time that you take with your clients is just absolutely so amazing. And we have a big ask. We are healing the world. And we are doing it with one practitioner, well, more than one, but the Heal the World show is introducing you to one practitioner every week. And I am wonderful. It's wonderful that you met again another fabulous, amazing practitioner from the Healing Institute, Gina Frondorfer. So thanks, Gina. And we're going to say goodbye for today.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everybody.